Hey everyone. So a while ago I started a new Gunpla project that I'm sure I'll have finished in a timely fashion just like all my other projects. Using this Johnny-ridden high-mobility Zaku as a base, I want to create a custom Zaku II that would have been used by the character Erik Blanke from Gundam Battlefield Record 0081. Much like his Gelgoog and Zaku I, it will be predominantly purple, my favorite color, and I'd like to give it a more aggressive look and arm it with a heat sword. To that end, I want to give it two spiked shoulders, like a Guf or an Ifrit, instead of the shoulder-mounted shield, which means I will have to make a copy. And if you know me, I am the king of making copies. From Oyumaru and epoxy to silicone and resin, I've tried it all, but this time I did something a little different. So anyway, I had seen other Gunpla builders use a technique like this to remove seam lines and repair chipped plastic, melting runners in plastic cement and smearing it over the seams and cracks. Last month, when I accidentally melted the head cap of my Z'Gok in acetone, I made a silicone mold of another head cap, and I was able to make a copy by melting the leftover runner and casting it in that mold. Now, it wasn't pretty, it took some cleaning up, but the finished product was great, so I sought to perfect the process in order to cast the shoulder armor I wanted to copy. Step 1 was to make the silicone mold. Easy enough. If you've seen other folks make videos on this process, it's all the same. Let me know if you care to see me make a video on my specific process. Next, we've got to melt the runner. At first I chose to use acetone since that's how I did it the first time. First, you definitely want to clip the runner into small parts to expedite the process, but it will still take about 4 to 6 hours to completely reduce to a taffy or chewed gum texture. So for my first attempt, I pushed the runner taffy into the mold with my fingers, which was advantageous over pouring resin because I could manually force the material into the creases and crevices of the mold. This took approximately 8 to 10 hours to fully cure, or at least for the plastic to harden. Demolding was an absolute disappointment. As the excess flashing pushed itself out of the mold, it left these weird stretch marks, and somehow I still ended up with air bubbles that left gaps in the final part. So I tried again, this time using plastic cement, which actually does a better job of melting the runners down. It still takes hours and hours, but you're left with a much more liquid consistency and less color leaching than with the acetone. And after pushing a wad of melty plastic into my mold using my fingers, I was left with a pockmarked and brittle part that actually did capture some great details where it didn't end up looking like Freddy Krueger's face. So I tried again. After more trials, more tribulations, more acetone, more cement, I was still getting poor results. So maybe, I thought, in order to combat the air bubbles, I should try injection molding. So I got my hands on some glass syringes, because plastic syringes would probably bond to the melted plastic and I wouldn't be able to clean and reuse them. So here I tried both pulling the plastic into the syringe and just dumping the plastic in the top of the syringe and pushing it down. And with difficulty, I filled up the molds with my liquid plastic, and surely this would be my moment. Still nothing. So I tried copying some smaller parts, some poly caps, some builder's parts, and nothing gave me the same result that I had the first time around. So I sit here before you a defeated man. I suspect that the chemicals used to reduce the plastic to its liquid form also sap a ton of moisture out of the plastic as it cures, or as the acetone or what have you evaporates when the plastic rehardens. I suspect that this wouldn't be an issue if the plastic were melted via temperature rather than chemicals, but that would involve a complex double boiler system to do at home, I imagine. So in the end, there is no reliable way I've found to recycle your runners for any substantial parts. Maybe you could get away with a smaller, thinner piece, or replacing a polycap or a joint, or a part that you don't really care if it looks like garbage. Even when I finally did cast this part in resin and using epoxy putty, there was still a great deal of cleanup that had to go into it when trying to get a nice finished product for my custom Zaku project. I had to repair the spikes on the epoxy version because I was still getting air bubbles in there. Sorry if I got your hopes up with this one. Lord knows I thought I'd found some kind of Gunpla cheat code, but it turns out that my Z'Gok head cap was simply a lucky fluke. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I will be posting more updates on this Zaku when I can get my hands on some primer and start carving in some panel lines, gluing on some detail parts, and airbrushing that tasty purple. If you want to see more horrific yet glorious Gunpla experiments, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. That's all for now. I will catch you later.